Hey guys, I got way more questions for the Q&A than I anticipated, so I'm gonna split it up into smaller, separate parts. Because if I did it without interruptions, it would take me about 40 minutes to get through all of it, and I don't think anybody wants to watch a 40-minute video like that. So if I didn't get to your question this time, please check out future Q&A videos. I'll link to the Q&A after each of the upcoming Game of Thrones episodes. So first question from Miss V, what is the motto you live by? That's actually really hard for me to answer. It's probably winter is coming. No, I don't. I've never really thought about it before, but I guess it'd just have to be have courage and be kind. All the people I look up to embody those two qualities, and it's a pretty short list, honestly. I think people can try to have more of both and can definitely benefit from it. Not just the courage, though, because courage by itself can make you do pretty dumb things. All right, and Miss V also asks, what is the address for your P.O. box? I don't have one, and I actually didn't think to get one until I got asked this question. I thought about it for a bit because in Chinese culture, you're taught not to accept free things from strangers, but honestly, there are a lot of things about Chinese culture that have been detrimental to my personal growth and to many other aspects of my life, so I could honestly make another video all about that. But I tried to figure out what the right call is for me regarding the P.O. box, and I realized if people want to send me stuff, it's because it would make them happy to make me happy. So first of all, I'm touched. But secondly, why should I stand in the way of that, right? So I don't have a P.O. box yet because the biggest ones at my post office are 5 inches by 5 inches. So do you guys know what happens if it gets filled too much or if they get a package too big to put in it? You know what, never mind. I'm going to go across the street and look into it. Ask someone at the counter. All right. And Sophie asks, do you intend on making a Patreon for full-length reactions or early reactions? I thought about it before, and I thought I'd do it a little later, but a few people have been asking now, and that really spurred me to actually do it now. So yes, I will have a Patreon up by the end of Season 3, Episode 7. So you can see the end of Season 3 of Game of Thrones if you do that, do the early access option. And I'm not super sure about a few things, but I will work it out as we go along. If you guys have any tips, let me know. And Sophie also asks, do you have a Twitter or a way for us to talk to you? I suck at Twitter so much. It's kind of horrible. But I do have one, and I recently changed the screen name. I tried to do Eric Reacts before, but it didn't work. But now somehow some guy probably got rid of it, so I get to change it now. So I'm gonna make an effort to use it more. It's actually just Eric Reacts with no spaces. Yeah, it was, like I said before, it wasn't available about a half a year ago, but now it is. So yay, makes it easy to remember since it's the same name as my channel. Let's shift to some more serious questions for now, though. For now, let's see. The first question from Blargo123. Why do you think Asians are the highest earning racial demographic in the USA? Did not expect to get these kind of questions, but I'm very happy I did. I think there are a lot of factors. Culturally, there's a greater focus on education in Asian cultures because it can define your entire life in Asian countries. I know in China, like, if you don't get into a good school, like, you're basically stuck. There's no social mobility if you don't do well in school. So about 50% of Asian Americans 25 years or older have a bachelor's degree, which is much higher than the national average of 28%. And a higher education on average means a higher income. Also, typical highest earning demographic data is normally calculated by household, and Asian households are larger than the national average, so that also contributes to the highest earning racial demographic stat. All of this paints a certain model minority picture that where like Asians are doing really well. But if you look at the data in detail, you can see that there are many problems with that idea. Not saying that Blargo123 was looking at it that way. I'm just giving you all of my thoughts on the subject. For instance, if you look at the average income for American men with a bachelor's degree, it's about $73,000 a year. Whereas with Asian men with a bachelor's degree, they earn only $57,000 a year. That's a difference of $16,000. So their race definitely plays into it. They're not making as much as other people. Also, or I'll say it, white people. Also, Asian poverty is still a big problem. There are certain groups of Asians that have 40% of their population below the poverty line. So when people talk about like, oh, Asians are doing so well, yes, some of the population is doing pretty well. But most of us are still struggling really bad, honestly. Uh, Personal story, I guess. My family, we didn't have any cash. My dad had just been cheated out of quite a bit of money, and we had no cash. Our income was low. We had an American Express credit card, which he tried to use to pay for food so we could eat. And we were going through Flushing. I was like 2 or 3 at the time, and we were going through Flushing, just finding a place that would accept American Express so that we could eat for the night. And it took forever, but we finally found one. I gotta ask my parents what restaurant that is, because I hope it's still open. I would love to go back and visit and be thankful to them. But yeah. Also, I think one of the biggest things is that pay is higher in city areas, and that's where all the Asians typically live in the U.S. But that also means the cost of living is higher. So their earnings are higher, but they also can't buy as much as if you had that much money in other areas. So, and also a lot of Asian immigrants who come into the country come in already at the top of their field, so that pushes up the average income too. But yeah, don't buy into the model minority myth at all. There are so many of us still struggling. Blargo123 also asked me, what do I think of Jordan Peterson? I didn't know who he was, but he's a psychologist, professor of psychology, and I looked up some of his views, and as soon as I saw any of these three, I could have written him off as like a crazy asshole. But number one, he released a series of YouTube videos criticizing political correctness. And political correctness, I don't know why people are making an enemy out of it. It's just being kind to people. Like, it makes me so angry when people piss all over that idea. And Jordan Peterson also criticized the Canadian bill C-16, which added gender identity as a prohibited ground of discrimination. So he's basically saying, oh yeah, like I want to discriminate against you guys. You can't make a rule saying I can't do that. So, ugh. And then finally, he argued that feminism and policies such as no-fault divorce have had adverse effects on gender relations and destabilized society. Feminism has been great for society. He's an idiot for not seeing that, or he has an agenda. That's why he doesn't want to see it. And no-fault divorce is actually great. People make fun of the divorce rate in the United States because they're like, oh, it's like 50%. Like, what other country has that divorce rate? And people fail to realize that that's a good thing. Like, people in other countries can't leave their spouses because of religious or country reasons or whatever laws. But think about how many people can leave their spouses because their spouses are abusive, and they are allowed to leave now because of the high rate of divorce. And yeah, it's when he says no fault divorce, there's just too many things I could talk about, but I'm done with talking about him. He was also, I'm almost done talking about him. He was arguing that feminism attempts to feminize men. I mean, come on. Half the things he says aren't even factually correct. So my thoughts on him are that many incompetent and cruel assholes are able to reach a lot of people and influence them, and it's a shame. I do know he does some, motivational videos. I haven't watched them, but I assume they might be okay, but I don't agree with his personal views whatsoever. So one more serious question before we end the video. From Albatrossi, what are your views on religion and religious beliefs, or do you find it to be a personal matter which you don't like to speak of? So I actually don't think there's anything that should be off limits to talk about in society. There are too many taboo topics like mental health, socioeconomic status, sex, specifically STDs, and polygamy, and open relationships. In some circles, it's even taboo to talk about sexism and racism. They're like, dude, don't bring everybody down. Don't talk about that stuff. So, yes, religion is one of those topics that I think people should talk about if they want to. Nothing should be off limits. So yeah, but like, how are we gonna learn and grow without conversations like these? So personally, I'm agnostic. That means, for those of you who don't know, that means I don't know if I believe in a God. I think there might be one out there, but I don't think, I don't subscribe to any particular religion. As for religion as a whole, I do think lots of evil has come from it. Religious wars, trying to convert people because our God is the one true God, like in Game of Thrones. But there's a lot of good that comes from it too. I think it teaches people good lessons sometimes. It's a path to teach those lessons. There are obviously other ways to learn those same lessons. But I think the biggest positive would be that it's a source of hope for people. And as long as it doesn't get them to, as long as there people aren't hypocrites who use their religion to belittle or put down others, which is sometimes the case, I think it can be a good thing. And there is some quite some backwards thinking with some religions, especially with what's her name, Kim Davis, like refusing to marry that gay couple. But that's another story entirely. But I kind of want to get her into it now. But there should be separation of state and church. She's just saying, I don't want to give this marriage license because it goes against my faith. But if you signed up to be a government employee, church and state have to be separate. So when she signed up for the job, when she was elected, when she chose to run for that job, she shouldn't have run for it if she couldn't carry it out. But yeah, there's a lot of backwards thinking, especially with the LGBT community. But I am a bigger fan of the most recent pope. He's shown that he's compassionate to people even outside his own religion. I saw him a news story of him washing some other religious person's feet, like from another religion. But yeah, it's nice to see. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this Q&A video. Next Q&A video will be, I got a whole bunch of Game of Thrones questions, so I'll answer those. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, friends.